Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Fire Pro Wrestling World for the PS4 and PC. Now, being a big fan of the Fire Pro franchise for many years, I was able to experience it for the first time on the Game Boy Advance. Now, Fire Pro Wrestling World came out actually in June of 2017 for Steam, but it was an early access title. They updated it, they added new matches, new match types, options for Create a Wrestler, and most importantly, especially what ties into this iteration, what ties into the finalized product, and that is a co-promotion alongside New Japan Pro Wrestling. For the first time in the franchise's history, we have officially licensed wrestlers in this game. You have all of your favorites except for the Young Bucks from the New Japan roster, the full-time New Japan roster, be it Kenny Omega, Naito, Tanahashi, Okada. You have them on this game, and you can play with them, and they feel and play and react just as you would have expected them to in a Fire Pro game. Now, for those who've never played a Fire Pro game, it is a game based on strict, very intense timing and build up your offense. You start off with maybe minor strikes and minor attacks like a body slam or just an elbow to the back of the head, and build up the damage enough that you can hit your bigger maneuvers, including your finisher. You have to be precise, you have to take your time, and you have to be able to chain your moves together to know the moveset of the wrestler that you're playing as, so you can understand exactly what you're going for when you say hit this circle button at the 20-minute mark and you know for a fact it's a pinning combination. That's the kind of stuff that makes Fire Pro Wrestling so fun when the bell rings. Now, obviously, this isn't a WWE quality game when it comes to graphics, but this is easily the best looking Fire Pro game in the franchise. The models are bigger, the lights and colors are brighter, there's actually licensed music in it so you can use for your entrances. It's the best looking Fire Pro game in the history of the franchise, easily. There are still the creation options. You have the ability to create your own wrestler with the multitude of options, be it body types or hair options, and most importantly, especially when it comes to this game, it's fine-tuning your wrestler. It's in-depth as it ever has been. Unfortunately for Fire Pro Wrestling return users, there are some limitations, especially when it comes to creating a belt. With so many options, it can be almost daunting of a task to try to create a wrestler. If you want to play one of the many modes that are involved, beyond the gameplay modes, beyond the ability to have death matches and steel cage matches and multi-man matches, intergender matches as well. You can have those in this game as well. Even MMA style octagon fights. You can have your own MMA fight in this game. It's happened in previous games and it's back again. There is the Fighting Road mode, which is this almost visual novel / wrestling mode where you rise through the ranks of New Japan in hopes of becoming a top star with your created wrestler. For all the great things about this game, there are some glaring flaws. Beyond the smaller roster compared to other Fire Pro offerings, including Fire Pro Returns and even the Fire Pro games on the Game Boy Advance, even though you can fill that roster up a lot more with created wrestlers, the option of creating thousands of wrestlers or even downloading wrestlers is there. When it comes to the overall presentation of Fire Pro Wrestling World, there are some problems, especially when it comes to the frame rate. Be it offline or online, there will be moments where the game will stutter. There are moments when the game will stop. And it's almost confusing and baffling that here we are in 2018 and Fire Pro Wrestling World is having more problems trying to run on high-powered systems than Fire Pro Wrestling Returns did on the PS2 back in 2007. The menu can be really atrocious when it comes to slowdown, when it comes to just moving around. One of the key things that I was excited about the most is, thus far, a very big disappointment. Not surprisingly, a game that is really based on timing is critically connected to internet connection quality. For example, my first online match, I was having a great showcase for the first 5 or so in-game minutes. Then the game lagged, and from that point on, I couldn't do anything. My timing was completely off, and of course, I lost the match. To top it off, with this being a niche product, it's hard to find a lot of matches, especially ones that go throughout the entire endeavor. Overall, in my first few hours of playing Fire Pro Wrestling World, it felt like a nostalgia trip, a return to old times, and most importantly, the belief that I finally had that one wrestling game that's going to carry me throughout the generation and beyond. Unfortunately, there are lacking features when it comes to the overall package, but what really is the heart and soul of Fire Pro Wrestling, the franchise itself, is still there in Fire Pro Wrestling World. If you played previous games in the franchise and enjoyed them, there is no reason why you shouldn't pick this up. If not, if you're just a wrestling video game fan, I say give it a try, see if you enjoy it. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, with another video game first impressions. Fire Pro Wrestling World for the PlayStation 4 and PC. Now, if you don't mind, I have to find a tag team partner. A golden lover, if you will. So he and I can come together as one and shout as we pull off our double team finishing maneuver. Oh lordy!